get a friend?
Demonology for dumbbells. Ugh. I need something more advanced. The Encyclopedia Demonium. I know it by heart. The Lesser Key of Sadakandras. Ugh, what nonsense. The Encyclopedia Demonium. I know it by heart.
Seven grant us gliding power.
You who seek the winter treasure, prove your intention, prove your worth. I demand to know if friend you be, the name of the earthen brother of Boreas. Correct you are, and freely may you enter.
I've been struck by lightning! Curses! I'm stuck!
Intruders by. 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 Intruder spied. Intruder spied. Intruder spied.
I feel better already.
Intruder spied. Intruder spied. Intruder spied. Intruder spied. Intruder spied.
As good as a new penny.
Intruder spied.
As good as a new penny.
Intruder spied.
On the mend.
Intruder spied.
Whee!
Intruder spied. Intruder spied.
Gentle flight, rushing descent.
lucky find!
The stone is adorned with strange runes. You speak the words out loud and hear an inviting click nearby.
What's this? Something seems to have materialized in my pocket.
I'm not gonna be the one to fish it out if that's what you're asking.
commanders. I do apologize for the state your homestead is currently in. It's like a zoo in here, or worse, an emporium. That's right. These red little blighters appeared as out of nowhere when another one of the portals became active. God 7 or 700. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's imps. Stumbled, yes! The exact word. A stab in the dark that I wish had simply gotten rid of them all. This is the end of time, for heaven's sake. Not an impish daycare center. Band of... Why, I'm not one of them. Not one of those exiles that were slaves to demons and their own inadequacies. But talk to them if you must hear their history. I haven't the stomach for the vagaries of my own species. No, what I need is the sound of a symphony, a whiff and a swig of old tasty wine, and above all, a shelter away from imps.
I wonder how much of a spark it takes to zap a human to vapor.
Bitter chill.
I trade my gauntlets for a hot drink!
ghosty.
Baking like a cake. Face the unending darkness. Well, I was really hoping to find something better.
Bless the seven, I am restored!
On the men!
Consider your pain a sacrifice to the goddess.
Oh, I'd rather sacrifice someone else's pain.
We're knee deep in dead him. What in the name of the conduit do you think we've been doing?
Too much of a good thing, that's what.
Gird your loins!
I've been hobbled.
down!
What's so cold here? Sweet relief.
Stitch of time, hey, my friends?
Stave of combat!
Got you right where I want you! Your grave opens to welcome you!
My blood turns to ice within my veins. Sweet relief.
Now you will know the reach of my power.
Seven, have mercy on your soul. stitch of time, hey, my friends?
I needed that.
Back on my feet again. As good as a new penny. Oh, I needed that.
Treasure! On the mend! Sweet relief. Back on my feet again. This entire place is splattered in blood.
The void
Someone
is
must
coming.
really dislike imps. Need to warm up.
The void is coming.
Oh, I could do with a cold drink.
So much blood lost, squandered. Why?
Away with you, damned Reaper! Take your scythe to grain, not my soul!
The bane of all life-loving souls, maniacs and their gods.
The humans, they wanted Lord Boreas's great starstone, so they fashioned him a staff, the elemental staff. It makes him king, for it dethroned his brothers. So glad was he with power, yet another bane, that we were given to the humans and their knives. Stone of stars, stone of blood, accursed be. Oh, blissful tidings! You have slain the betrayer? Then seek no more, for you have found the forge here in this hall. Throw in the staff, and it will fracture in the fire. Fear not like I must. Away, damned Reaper, away! Oh!
As for the Frost King, I suppose we can't be surprised, can we? Madness befits the feeble-minded. Now his purpose is nearly served. May he consume this entire dimension in his foolish delusions. Soon enough, my Immaculates, your conduit will raise you to divine heights. This bloodstone has an ingress between fates, our link to the next stage of being. Never mind the Immaculates. Enlightened ones, your conduit calls you to your ultimate purpose. Heed the Void's call. Offer your souls to the demons that beckon you. Charming of Astarte to send her scouts upon me, but no matter. The bloodstone is mine, and the witch cannot be saved.
As hot as the hell, you will soon inhabit.
Venomous sister, attack!
Seven, have mercy on your soul.
Time to shore up the defenses.
Bless my stars!
Another starstone, another piece of ourselves, perverted towards Leandra's will.
These stones may be valuable to us, but they are not us ourselves. Leandra cannot stop us from hunting her down.
Nothing Leandra might do could shake our identities. We are source hunters. Our job is to destroy that which would harm Rivellon.
Lucky find!
sister! We are free! And who is this? Can it be that a frail mortal human faced and bested our own scheming Boreas? Ah, but this is no mortal, I see. Strange you'd take the guise of a source hunter. But I shall of course honor your chosen form. Indeed, I suppose I should have expected that one of your kind would snare our brother sooner or later. Boreas always did dance uncomfortably close to the dark arts. But I suppose the others of we elemental monarchs thought it better not to interfere in the affairs of his realm. No, like fools, we waited for his pride, his hunger for more and ever more power, to pull us from our own seats of safety and into his sordid storm. We, and with us all the subjects of the realm of Fairy, do owe you our lives, Source Hunter. If, no, not if, but when, we might be of assistance to you in this dimension, you must call upon me personally. I am King Sewer of the Summer Kingdom of Calvia, brother, alongside the other elemental monarchs, to the unfortunate and insane Boreas. In earlier days, we ruled the four realms of Fairy in relative peace, each of us the master of our own kingdom. But something changed in Boreas. He grew darker somehow, more than was typical of his usual melancholy. We worried, yes, but chose not to intervene. Boreas was the Lord of Hyberheim, and it was his right to rule it as he pleased. When our brother called the elemental seats to convene in Hyberheim, we were ecstatic. Boreas seemed again interested in the joint rule of Fairy, and upholding the long-established diplomacy of our lands. When we arrived, however, it was not Boreas who greeted us, but a dark figure. A woman with a stare like blackest fire. In her staff she held a demonic power, the likes of which I've never felt. And I listened closely when I could to Boreas' doings. From what I could tell, it seems this woman had little contact with our deranged brother after the initial exchange of the staff. From what I could tell, the arrangement was thus. She gave him us, contained, and in return he gave her access to his great star stone, and scores of imps he'd invited to Hyberheim. After that, the two parted, and I heard little more of the woman. In his fits of madness, Boreas would sometimes bellow abuse about the demon woman. I can only assume he meant the same who trapped us. Source Hunter, it would be my sincerest honor. Take this rune, and use it to summon me when you're near the witch once more. If she can be extracted from Boreas' ice, I'll find a way to make it so.
We best be on our way then. The spring and autumn kingdoms won't rule themselves, you know. May our paths cross soon, Source Hunter.
Ah, our champion has returned.
I've tried my very best. Sewer, you say? But that is wonderful. My faith in you as ever well placed. At your leisure, Source Hunter. Though for Akara's sake, we ought not to dilly-dally too long. The White Witch is quickly growing a whiter shade of pale indeed.
This is your White Witch, then? And you're sure you want to free her, are you? Even our mad Boreas wouldn't have wasted such precious ice on a petty criminal. Whatever she did to find herself here must have been rather severe indeed. But I am in your debt, and I would be remiss not to honor your request. Shield your eyes, Source Hunter. To melt ice of this refinement, I'll need to summon an equally rare flame.
Gods, it's colder than a witch's teat. How very callous of Leandra to inter her only sister in a barren tundra for eternity.
Ikara, you're all right? The ice, King Boreas, and your sister. What a frigid hell you've endured.
And yet not even a frigid hell like this could induce you to put on a shirt, could it, Ahu? My old friend. Surely I have you to thank for my salvation.
That honor goes to a pair of talented source hunters, actually. If not for their efforts, I'd be quite uselessly prowling around your prison still.
Then perhaps I ought to address my savior directly. Source Hunter, is that the masquerade? Well, what a motley crew we are. Isn't there somewhere a bit warmer we might discuss matters? Ah, yes, of course, of course. Do pardon me. I didn't mean to imply you were very clearly eternal beings in the guise of minor mortals. Not at all. Please, let's do carry on. Oh, yes, I suppose I am. But I do prefer my given name. Ikara, that is. Charmed. But I hope I haven't disappointed my own hero. Am I just as white and witchy as you'd hoped? First things first, Source Hunter. For my freedom, I owe you every imaginable thanks. My soul had withered in this prison, and I might not have survived much longer without your help. Now, about the culprits. My corrupted sister and the mad Winter King. When I realized exactly where and to whom Leandra was consigning me, I was certain I'd never enjoy the sun's warmth again. But neither she nor I anticipated the Source Hunter. That was her mistake, and my blessing. I never would have imagined Leandra capable of dealing with the likes of Boreas, but she has changed into someone I hardly recognize anymore. I take no pleasure in the memory of that night. The thought of hurting anyone or anything is abhorrent to me. But in this case, I judged it necessary. If you've come this far, I trust you've learned that the Counselor was far from a humble civil servant. This doesn't excuse my behavior, but perhaps it can help to explain it. It's a sordid story, to be perfectly frank. Two sisters, a philanderous, treacherous wizard, death and mayhem. Are you sure you're interested in such things? The sparkle in your eye belies your better nature, Source Hunter. Now I know that it is your duty to get to the heart of this. And, in truth, the events of that night were but one part of a larger and much darker matter. A matter in which I'll dare to beg your assistance before we're through with one another. Now that terrible night. One night, as I slept, I had a sudden revelation. No dream, but a vision. My sister Leandra and my lover Zandalor. I didn't understand, but I recognized their location. Syceel's King Crab Inn, I arrived and looked through their window, but inside, everything was wrong. Leandra had fled, and Councillor Jake stood over the wizard, a knife in his hand and hate in his eyes. As I watched, he drove the dagger deep into Zandalor's heart, and I was too late to stop him. In that moment, I broke. I saw before me not a man, not even a beast, but evil incarnate. And I used Source to slay him. On the floor lay Zandalor. In my hands, I held Jake's life force. I had sworn never to use Source, but I couldn't walk away. And so I did the unthinkable. I used the Councillor's life to save Zandalor's. He was alive, but only just. Betrayal. Murder. Source. We were all of us guilty now. If you were any other Source Hunter, I suppose you'd strike me down where I stand after that terrible admission. Fortunately for us both, you are no other Source Hunter. My own little sister, if you can imagine it. She was always the more ambitious, the more exacting of us, and she had no fear of the darkness that so often accompanies Source. Her collusion with King Boreas in imprisoning me here confirms my worst fears. She is planning something far greater than I could have anticipated. For this reason, and with a heavy heart, I must ask you, Source Hunter, to find out how far exactly Leandra has become entwined in the dark arts. I hate to extend my own invitation, Source Hunter, but I believe I ought to accompany you to Zigzax's hideout. Presumptuous, yes, but I'd recognize the imp's essence just about anywhere. Both he and you must learn more about the darkness that has extended itself into our dearest Rivellon. And I believe I know where we must begin. Ah, but unless that's a bear flailing through the threads of time, I do believe Master Zigzax is on his way. Make way, Source Hunter, landing in 3, 2...
Hunters, you've done it! Ikara is free! Ah, what good it does my impish heart to see her safe and bright as ever! We have much to discuss. Come one and all to the end of time. A spot of something warm and the soft glow of the tapestry ought to do us all a bit of good, Ikara, now, if we're done playing hide and seek, let's not waste a jot more time. Oh, I just can't wait to pick your every synapse.
After you, Master Zigzax.
He wouldn't have been murdered, resurrected, and pursued by the bringer of the apocalypse as a result, now would he?
Ha, true enough. Why, I see Master Zigzax has upgraded from his shabby little hut at the edge of the hour, from the fairy dimension to the, space-time weaver hunter imp one. What do you call this place again? Ha, is that so? It seems I have my share to learn about the magical world yet. The end of time. Well, suddenly your association with Master Zigzax makes sense. Well, I must say, it's no small relief to find myself in a safe haven among such allies. I believe the answer to that begins centuries ago, when your order was still cutting down so-called dark magicians by the dozens. Ours was a family of born sorcerers, you see. It was in our blood to interact with Source, but our parents were determined to curb the power within us. Still, their meekness wouldn't save them from the Source Hunters. I am, but there is more to our kind than they teach at your academy. Source isn't only blood and madness. It's like lightning, an exquisite current of great power. We sorcerers are like metal steeples. Source is drawn to us and it flows through us. But what so many fail to understand is that Source can be controlled. The power-drunk through history have abused it, and all the world's sorcerers have borne terrible consequences. Tell me, Source Hunter, in all your hours studying the arcane arts, did your great masters ever suggest that perhaps not all sorcerers were evil? Did you ever hear, even once, that some of us were weak and gentle, that we could be simple forest folk healing the sick and frozen each winter? No. I doubt also that they'd mention that one day this hunt of yours would birth a broken soul powerful enough to inch all of Rivellon toward oblivion. No. No, that would be going too far, and eschewing my own responsibility. I believe Leandra's long fall down did begin at the hands of some of your own order, but they came on a quiet morning. My mother was wild with fright and commanded me to hide myself and Leandra outside, among the trees. Even at that young age, we knew not to question her. We climbed high into the branches of a nearby tree, and before we could look away, our parents were cut down without ceremony before our door. The Source Hunters sauntered away, wiping their blades with pride. 2 more sorcerers dead, a job well done. From that moment on, everything was different. As we trembled in that tree, our fear and our desperation were so potent that the magic within us began to weave together. Our souls became forged together, our bond unbreakable. We would survive, thrive even, within those woods, never speaking to outsiders. Our soul forge meant that if one of us were to die, the other would instantly perish too. We kept one another close. Leandra's capacity was enormous. Source didn't frighten her, and she delved into that dark well with terrible regularity. I did my best to guide her, but she fast outgrew my admonitions. My sister and I were mired in a solitary existence, witches among the trees when Zandelor came. Leandra especially couldn't leave him be. He was a feast of information, and she wouldn't rest until she'd absorbed every bit of knowledge he offered. Their days were spent on charms, hexes, and the like. At night, Leandra would wander off to practice what she'd learned, and Zandelor and I would settle into our quiet tasks, side by side. We were a content trio, the 3 of us, but base impulse would undo us. As you know, Leandra and I were soul-forged. This offered us a window into one another's souls. I knew Leandra had developed feelings for Zandelor, and she knew I had too. But it was me to whom he confessed his love. Those quiet evenings together had captured his heart, as they had mine. Her heart broke the moment we announced our new attachment, and I felt the pain of it as sharply as a knife. She fled, without a word, and I didn't see her for 2 terrible years. My connection to her, our soul forge, grew weaker. It was as though some third entity, a parasite, were atop our souls, sucking the strength from it day by day.
I could tell a joke or 2. Free on a good day?
We've a single order of business first and foremost. Leandra is gathering an army, and I fear we'll have to get through it if we wish to find her. But first, we must learn more about Leandra's plans. How many of these so-called Immaculates does she have in her palm, and to what end is she directing them? Your journey must begin in the Lacula mines, where she has been accumulating materials and manpower for a purpose as yet unknown. The way will be dangerous. Her allies are growing more powerful and numerous by the minute. But we must discover exactly what Leandra is planning, and why. A soul forge comes with its own benefits, Source Hunter. Though our connection has weakened, I still see the occasional vision of Leandra's doings, the pangs of her deepest felt emotions, and flashes of her triumphs. One vision. I had thought it was only a nightmare, but now I see it was something much worse. Leandra is collecting materials, precisely what, I cannot say, and is hard at work shaping them into something sinister. Her frustrations are rivaled only by her mirth. I can see she's growing closer and closer to achieving something dire. You must make your way deep into the mines to see exactly what she's planning.
A bit drafty in here, isn't it?
So this tapestry represents all...
J'adore votre t-shirt.
Qu'est-ce que vous faites?
Je répare le software et j'envoie par email la mise à jour. Vous vouliez du swing, Rose? Regardez, je vais vous en donner. Regardez, tout le monde est vivant, Rose! Enfin, cette fois-ci, tout le monde est en vie!